Hey, well, just a few more minutes till the exact anniversary of the big triple disaster of 2011 that was on March the 11th. A few minutes from now, it'll be the anniversary of when we started getting some major shaking. And so on with some of the stuff that I missed in the previous videos and that I meant to do like a while ago and didn't get around to getting into yet. I guess I was talking to a friend of mine who was here at the time, Japanese friend of mine, who was riding her bike when the big quake hit. And she was going past the school, and she was kind of oblivious to the fact that the ground was shaking and wondering why there were all of these kids and teachers standing outside and what they were doing. And then she got off her bike and it's like, oh, the ground is shaking. And so she didn't, I guess, notice at first that we were having an earthquake. Because I guess when riding, it just wasn't so noticeable. But anyway, then she rushed home to check on her dog, and the dog was okay. So that worked out okay. And talked to a couple junior high girls who were in elementary school at the time that it happened. And one of them, who lived 10 minutes away, had it take I guess about 15 minutes to get home by car when her parents picked her up, and another lives about 20 minutes or so from her school, and her parents took her family took more than twice that, maybe even more than an hour to get home. Whatever the case is, it took them quite a while to get home. And when they got home, it was like the day after her family had moved to a different house. So a lot of things were still in boxes. Although I guess that protected a lot of things from like falling off of shelves and breaking. But the family was having to go through like all the boxes and find things that they needed and stuff. And then it was after that they found out more about the bigger aspect of the disaster. But yeah, and so it was about this time 6 years ago I was preparing to head out to Shuwa Circle, and things started shaking. It's like, is this going to be a normal earthquake, or that I can just ignore, or is it going to be a really, really big one, and I need to go to my safe spot? And it was one where I went to the safe spot, and yeah, the northeast coast of Japan is permanently altered because of that. And kind of made a mess in my kitchen. A lot of plastic containers fell down, and I had to move my microwave from the top of the fridge onto the floor at one point during that afternoon of shaking on and off, because I didn't want another big shake to shake it off of the fridge. So my microwave was kept on the floor for probably a good year or so, maybe more after that. And it was a few months before I could really bring myself to fully get organized again, because we were getting so much shaking that you never knew when more stuff would just fall over, and you may feel like you have to get stuff done again. Like, only a few things in my place broke, and unfortunately the top cupboard in my kitchen was open, and so a couple things fell down that were broken that might not have otherwise fallen down and been broken. But fortunately, there's nothing expensive because most of my stuff just isn't expensive. But yeah, it was just kind of crazy. I spent, I think, at least 6 months sleeping in my living room rather than in my bedroom. And I was sleeping between the couch and the table for the most part, just so that if there was any big shake in the middle of the night, that there was nothing to fall. And so, looking back, I wonder if it was like a minor bit of PTSD. Ooh, it was shaking at this time really, really hard 6 years ago. Minor symptom of PTSD, but not extreme because I didn't experience it at the same level as some other people. But yeah, it was a crazy experience. And now we've got this particular memory that is lodged in many people's minds permanently. And whenever I go to the seaside, which isn't very often, but often enough that if I go to a place that is by the ocean, my natural response is to look around to where the mountains and hills are to figure out which route to take if we have another big earthquake. It's like, okay, we run up there, or okay, we run up there, or whatever, if there's another big earthquake here. Because then, at least if I have that planned out in my mind, maybe I can take whoever's with me and go up and make sure we miss any tsunamis or whatever that come. Fortunately, that hasn't happened so far, but it kind of wakes you up to that reality, because there are a lot of people who might still be here if they had gone up whatever the nearest mountain was when it happened. But not everyone responded that way, because it had been a number of years since the last big tsunami, and the last big one wasn't even as big as this one was. And yeah, so now most of Japan has moved forward, but some of the towns affected by the big disaster, like the tsunami and such, haven't really gone back to normal, and probably never will go back to normal. And we'll just have to see what happens. But it's a long time for people to be working through those memories. And it's a long journey for them to work through. And some of them are still in temporary housing, waiting to be moved into permanent housing. And every time they're moved around from one thing to the other, when they were moved from their homes to the evacuation centers, and from the evacuation centers to temporary housing, and then from temporary housing to permanent housing, every single time their community gets juggled around. And a lot of people aren't accustomed to their community being juggled around, so it's a major adjustment. And people in that area still need that love and support and encouragement. And so, yeah, it's a long process. Long process. Meanwhile, most of the rest of us have mostly moved on, but some of us still have those memories that come up a lot. from time to time as things are mentioned. But yeah, anyway, just figured in memory of the thing I would do one more video of this.